Hello, sixth graders. Our lesson today is on fractions and percents. Our learning targets are I can write fractions as percentages, I can write percentages and fractions, and I can write ratios as percentages. Okay, so one thing to think about here is how can we represent parts of a whole? So if it's not a whole number, how can we represent that? So ratio, this is a vocab word we need to have written down. This is a comparison of two quantities by division. Okay. And a percent is when a ratio compares a number to 100. Okay, so the important thing is to know that percents are always out of 100. Okay, so it's part of a whole. So here, it kind of gives you the words again, word definition. A percent is a part to a whole number that compares a number to 100. And we write it as whatever over 100 or as that number with the percent. Okay. Something important to have written down here. Fractions and percents are ratios that can represent the same number. So again, just different ways to represent equivalent numbers. Okay, so when we have a fraction and we're going to write it as a percent, we have some steps here. The first step, change the denominator to be 100. And then whatever you do to the bottom, have to do to the top. Drop the denominator and just write it as with a percent sign. So 3/20ths, we are going to write that as a percent. Well, I know 20 times 5 is 100. So then since I multiplied the bottom by 5, I need to multiply the top by 5. 3 times 5 is 15. So 15 out of 100, they're showing that right here, how they are equivalent, just written differently. 15/100ths, well, that would be 15%. Okay, so get the bottom to be 100, and then whatever your numerator is, that's the percent. You just have to add the percent sign. Okay, so here's some for you to try if you're feeling comfortable. 17/20ths. Again, I know 20 times 5 is 100, so I'm going to multiply the top by 5. And 17 times 5 is 85. Bottom number 100. So now, since it's out of 100, like if I give you a test and I give you a percent, that percent is out of 100. So if you get a 90% on your test, you got 90 out of 100. So in this case, 85/100ths would be 85%. 3/5, I know that 5 times 20 gets me to 100. So I do the same thing to the top, multiply by 20. 3 times 20 is 60. So if I told you you got 60 out of 100 on your test, you got a 60%. Last one, 2/25ths. I know 25 times 4 is 100. So I need to multiply the top by 4. 2 times 4 is 8/100ths. So that would be 8%. If I told you that you ran 8 out of the 100 yards that you needed to run, you have run 8% of that. Okay, so ratios are just different ways of writing fractions. It's just comparing two numbers. So we are going to take this ratio and we're going to write it as a percent. So I have a goal to read 50 books this year. I've read 30 out of the 50. What percent have I read so far? So write that as a fraction first, 30 out of 50. Get the bottom number to be 100 by multiplying by 2. Have to do the same thing to the top. So I have finished reading 60% of my goal. 12 out of 25 teenagers were present for class today. So write that as a fraction. 25 times 4 I know is 100. Again, get the bottom to be 100. So 12 times 4 is 48. So that means 48% of the teenagers. 12 2/10 out of 100 points earned. Write that as a fraction. The denominator is already 100, so we don't need to do anything to change it. So it is just 12 2/10%. Okay, you can have a decimal in your percent like that. 11 feet out of 20 feet. Well, 11 out of 20. The first number, that's our numerator if you've noticed, because the bottom is our total. These are all of our totals. Okay, so those are the denominator. Now multiply by 5 to get to 100. 55 out of 100, which is 55%. Just drop the denominator, and that becomes your percent. Okay, so now going the other way, writing percents as a fraction, write down these steps. Oops, let me try that again so I don't cut through the word. Drop the percent sign, put the number over 100, simplify. So write 48% as a fraction. Percents are always out of 100, so we just write it as 48 out of 100. And then simplify. Find numbers that they can both be divided by. They're both even, so I know they can both be divided by 2, which is 24/50. Those can both be divided by 2. 24 divided by 2 is 12, and 50 divided by 2 is 25. I don't think they have anything in common, so 12/25. Okay, if you feel comfortable, try these on your own. Otherwise, keep following along as I go through them here. 40%, again, 40 percents are always out of 100. Those are both even, so I know they can be divided by, actually, I know that they're both divisible by 10, which would be 4/10. Those can both be divided by 2, which would be 2/5. If I had just divided by 20 from the beginning, it would have simplified right away to the very end. Next one, 6%. Percent is always out of a 100. And simplify, they can both be divided by 2, which is 3/50, and I don't think that can be simplified anymore. And 23%, percents are always out of 100. Pretty sure 23 is prime, so it's only divisible by 1 and 23, and 100 cannot be divided by 23, so I think that's already in simplest form. So that's writing the percent as a fraction. Just put it over 100. Okay, so again, here are the steps for the two going from a fraction to a percent. Multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number, so the denominator is out of 100. Drop the denominator, and the numerator, you just add a percent sign to it. Going from a percent to a fraction, drop the percent sign, put the number over 100, and then simplify. So these steps are very important, so make sure you have them written down. Okay, this is a part for you to try on your own. I'm not going to go through these, but I am going to be looking to see that you have these 4 problems done in your notebook. So the first 2, you are taking the fraction and you're writing it as a percent. And then 3 and 4, you are writing the percent as a fraction. So make sure I can see you do and these 4 problems in your notes. So look back over your notes. Do you have all of these things? The title, learning target, vocab words with definitions, examples, and the problems at the end of the video with the work and solution. You can check your understanding. Is this something that you could explain to a friend if you need to? Rewatch parts of the video if you are still confused or stuck, and you can always try more practice problems. Your notes, hold on to them. You'll use them for target checks, for in-class activities, during our Zoom sessions, so hold on to those.